I'm really excited about it. We're going to be talking about the top 5 cruiserweights of all time. And since Mr. Jesse Baker, the patron saint of the Rock Block, is had his birthday most recently, we're going to let him kick it off here with number 5. Who is the number 5 best cruiserweight of all time for Mr. Jesse Baker?
My number 5 is primetime Elix Skipper.
I don't hate that at all. I like that. I like that quite a bit, actually.
He was a very formative part of TNA existing in the first place. And look, you can watch any old footage of TNA at all, and one of the first things you see is him cage walking.
Yep, to the Hurricane Rana, dude, so sick.
It's one of the most iconic moves of the early 2000s.
He had started out in WCW and had careers in pretty much every indie that we could possibly think about. I'm just gonna say, like, his career in TNA, I thought was great, and I think that it could have been very promising. I am under the impression that he went on to manage an Applebee's or something like that, as according to what I remember. But that's a shame because that motherfucker absolutely ruled. I think he was inspirational. Primetime fucking Elix Skipper, man.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I don't hate that at all. I mean, definitely a pioneer, especially in the beginning stages of the X Division. And the X Division, I mean, people say what they want, but it really was, it wasn't the same as the WCW Cruiserweight thing. It wasn't just an extension or copy of that. It was a very different and unique. It was, to me, the X Division was actually the beginning of the wrestling that we have now, being the most commonplace. Like, those were the more iconic matches. And I mean, I would say Elix Skipper is at least a godfather in that world. That being said, it's a solid 5. I mean, I honestly don't think there's so many good cruiserweights that I don't think that any of us are going to be mad with any picks at this one.
Exactly. And there's so many different styles that different crews, like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. So Wex, tell me what your number 5 cruiserweight of all time.
Coming in at number 5, you mentioned him earlier on some gimmick infringement with me, but the Bastard Pac comes in at number 5 for me. Yeah. And I mean, he's the total package. He has the power. He can do the high flying. He has everything. And he's just goddamn built like a mini Greek god.
Oh, dude, it's insane. It's insane. His physique is...
The red arrow, the black arrow, whatever you want to call it, is just like one of the most impactful, just coolest looking moves. And he's just like probably pound for pound, one of the strongest, just most athletic people in wrestling today. Not even just for the cruiserweights, but goddamn, he's just so good, and his brain busters, his just so much good stuff from him. And he main event, just like we were talking about this week on Dynamite, and he had a hell of a cruiserweight run in WWE and just Dragon Gate, just all over the world. Pat comes in at number 5 for me, the goddamn bastard. And shout out to Neville, Adrian Neville, the man that gravity forgot.
There it is. Yeah, I love that. I really do. I'm pretty excited about this. My number 5, I wrestled with this, so I'm cheating now. I'm gonna go ahead and give you my honorable mention. Because I wrestled with this. I was gonna give my number 5 to Zack Sabre Jr. I was gonna give him the number 5, but I was like, I really thought about it, and Dean Malenko was kind of there too, and I was like, well, I really don't think that Zack Sabre Jr. would be that way without a guy like Dean Malenko. So I feel like Dean Malenko deserves a spot a little bit more. And especially his work as an agent as well, too, because I know he's influencing these kind of matches now. And so I think we're seeing a lot of his vision in a lot of these matches, which is very cool. And, so number 5 to me is Dean Malenko. He was the last good horseman. That's what I'll say. He was the last, really good horseman. And that's a really cool feather to have in your cap. As well as, I mean, his technical ability. To me, it was like you kind of showed... at that weight level that you could be fast, but not like acrobatic and still be a ground wrestler in an American style and not like a super technical British style as opposed to Zack Sabre Jr. But like you did American wrestling, which especially at that time was a lot slower, a lot more entertainment based, a lot more Shakespeare, and like that he could keep up with the luchas, but he still kept his base in like ground, American wrestling from the 90s. And he
gave it that real edge.
Yeah, it was so good. He's underrated. I think he's I know he's on this list for cruiserweights, but I would say he's at least in the top 10 like best wrestling matches. Like I don't think you could his ratio, his like completion percentage as opposed to misses. I feel like a good one as opposed to a bad one. I dare you to find a really bad Dean Malenko match. You know. So yeah, number 5 for me, Dean Malenko. Number 4,
Okay.
Jesse. Where you at?
Man, number 4. Alarmingly similar. I will say my honorable mention was Dean Malenko. We go ahead and spoil that one.
I wrestled with it. No pun intended.
My number 4 is very similar, and is Jerry Lynn.
Ooh, I love that.
That was my alternate honorable mentions.
Jerry Lynn, obviously, we all know that Jerry Lynn pioneered not only a ton of moves, but also a ton of styles. Wrestled as Mr. JL very early on, GFW, Global Force Wrestling. I don't think that's actually the name of it. I'm going to take that one back. But
it's not Global Force. You're thinking of, I know what you're talking about.
Think about the one that was on ESPN in the very early 90s.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then went on to WCW, and then obviously ECW, and then into the WWF. But
don't forget his TNA run.
The TNA run was
so good.
The last thing that I was going to mention, only because it was so formative, not only to the company, but to so many wrestlers that were a part of TNA. I think that TNA's X Division wouldn't have been what it was had it not been for the involvement of a guy like Jerry Lynn. And seeing 100%. That fatal pile driver like a motherfucker, just such a fucking incredible thing. Jerry Lynn is my number 4.
I like that. That's a great pick. I have a really quick Jerry Lynn story. It was like WrestleMania 26 or 27. And he hosted a watch party at Deja Vu. It was like, remember how like, okay, so
random.
Yeah. So listen. So Hooters used to have the pay-per-views, right?
Yeah.
And then they stopped for a little while. It was like a year or two. They stopped, and it was one of those years. So I don't even remember it for obvious reasons. But yeah, we went there, and he did like a trivia thing. And like there were no dancers. Like it was at like literally. I mean, they like were walking around and serving drinks and like offering dances, but there were no one was on stage because they tried to do it that way, and we were all just watching the show, like a bunch of marks. And so they had Jerry Lynn standing out there on like the 3-pole stripper stage on the main stage, the old Deja Vu, like right off the Mumbrian, right? And he's out there, and so he starts doing just like trivia. And he gives away, I shit you not, hang on just 1 second. He's giving away encyclopedias. These things. I know you can't even see it because my shit's all like messed up.
Is it a WWE encyclopedia?
Yes, it's a
I have one too. Is it the 08 edition?
Encyclopedia. Yeah. So like I won this from Jerry Lynn. And so like, okay, so we stayed. The show ended at like, this is back when WrestleMania was like 4 hours and not like 18. And so the show ended at like maybe 10:30 or 11, and he was like contracted there until like 3 a.m. or something like that. So there was like that really skinny smoking porch in the front of Deja Vu, like really small, tight area.
I know exactly
smoking,
what
right?
you're talking about. Yeah.
So like they're all gone. Yeah, like they're like everybody else is gone. WrestleMania is over. Everyone else is left. And like it's like a regular strip club at that point. Like people are coming in and out, and like I'm just out on the smoking porch, and he comes out there and he's like, "Yeah, man," and like he's like, I was like, "Dude, I'm not trying to bother you," like because I already just talked to him for like 30 minutes. Like at the end, I was like, "I'm not trying to bother you, man. Like I'm just literally hanging out here because I don't think I had a car or something at that point. I was a very broke, very sad individual at that point in my life, but." Yeah, I mean, so we hung out and like, dude, I hung out with him until like 3 or 4 in the morning, and we just talked about wrestling, and he was the sweetest guy ever. Definitely deserves to be on the list. I absolutely love it. Wex,
I would like to add to the story time just for 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Very brief, but I booked Jerry Only's version of the Misfits at Exit Inn. It was literally 1 month in the same time span of booking Danzig at Marathon.
That's the good version.
There was a big old
That's
war.
The good version.
Big old. I'm just saying there was a big old war between the two.
Creepy the way you said that.
I mean, Jerry Only sucks. I mean,
yeah.
Come on now.
Dude, I'm not saying Jerry Only's great. What I am saying is that gave me my opportunity to meet Jerry Lynn outside of the wrestling realm, came into Exit In, and apparently he's very with everybody in the Misfits. But when I pulled him aside, I was like, hey, man, I'm a huge fan. I absolutely love all of your body of work. and you're welcome to come into here until the end of time, as far as I'm concerned. So Jerry Lynn actually has had his name on a plaque at what used to be the front door of the exit in.
Love it. I love that. He's a sweetheart of a guy.
Too. It was he's a cool fucking cat.
I love that, man. I love to hear it. I love Jerry Lynn. Wex, let's keep it going, man. Who's next on the list?
All right, number 4 for me is very similar when it comes to like innovation and TNA X division and a lot of shit, and that's the Amazing Red.
Oh, you're a son of a bitch, Wex.
And he literally, I mean, like he invented a lot. I mean, he innovated, invented, and added on to all like everything from the 90s and like everything we know today, the modern day. He's just, it's insane. He was so young and so good. Like I remember seeing him at the fairgrounds. Like that was one of those like newer wrestlers for me, like a new TNA. I was like, dude, the Amazing Red, that guy's like fucking sick. And just all of his work, like Private Party, he's trained those dudes. Like, I feel like he's not appreciated enough for like how much innovation and how much like he set the table for what we do and what we see today. And it comes to the Cruiserweights and the way they move and some of the shit they do. It's just, I feel like he definitely doesn't get enough credit.
No, I totally agree. I completely agree. Actually, he was my number 4, so that's why I said you were a son of a bitch.
Well, there we go.
It's rare that we get him in the same spot. So yeah, I'll kind of elaborate on that too. I mean, I think that like in the early 2000s when the Asylum days were happening and we got to see Amazing Red like once a week. I mean, I went to at least 85% of those tapings. I went to a lot of
My
them.
Friend Casey's dad got free tickets all the time. And they're like, you want to go to wrestling?
Yeah, everybody got free tickets, man. They couldn't give those tickets away back in the day.
Apparently they could.
Yeah, they did. But they still couldn't make it look full, which is crazy. Amazing Red, the first time you see like the code red ever, like I was like, dude, especially the way he did it with such impact and velocity. And it was just so like, sick. I was like, that is probably the most innovative, but like also relatively safe, like lucha style moves that I've seen. Like it makes perfect sense. And it's a pretty safe flatback. You actually almost get like assisted. You know what I mean? It's like, it's genius. Like when you see guys like Ricky Morton do it and like Goldust do it, it's like, man, like not only are you like an impressive, amazingly fast, super sharp, great technically, great as a flyer wrestler, but you also innovated a wrestling move that people could just do. Like,
and that's, everybody does a code red these days.
Yes.
It's like a common. It's like how the DDT.
That's when you know you made
to a regular move.
Yeah. You got Jake the Snake, you got Shawn Michaels, you got Amazing Red, and every. You know what I'm saying? Like that's you're when you've entered that echelon, like you made a move that is used in everybody's moveset because it's so awesome. Yeah, I mean, good for you, Petey Williams. Everybody uses the damn Destroyer now too. Like he deserves to be in there. So like, yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Amazing Red, my number 4. I love it. Are we getting to the bronze? Are we going bronze medal here, guys?
The bronze.
Medal? Jesse Baker. Who is your bronze medal here?
My bronze medal, gonna piss everybody off, I'm sure, like I normally do, which is going to be Rey Mysterio Jr.
Oh no, that's very solid.
It's low in my opinion, but yeah.
I mean,
it is low. But the more that I had to think about this, the more I had to consider everyone else's involvement in everyone else's career, like what we talked about. But I'm going to say that is my bronze. There's no need to expand on why Rey Mysterio Jr. makes this list, obviously.
Yeah. Oh no.
Halloween Havoc 96.
I mean,
alone. If he just died after that, that would be like that. That alone is like
legend status.
Yeah.
It's obviously Rey innovated a ton of things and just paved the way for a lot of people. But that is my number 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. I'm not mad at that at all. I'm not mad at that at all. He's very close there for me as well. But yeah, he's number 2 for me.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and give you my number 3. My number 3, I don't think that gets enough love. I think he's one of the first ever light heavyweights that really like sparked the conversation of speed being more important or a benefiting factor.
I bet you me and you got the same number 3. I'm calling it. Let's go ahead and say it though.
Dynamite Kid.
No, okay, never mind.
So Dynamite Kid is number 3 for me.
That's a good one.
Fantastic pick.
I think that I really don't think that. I mean, a lot of like very deep technical wrestling combined with the speed and like the heavy bumps, even though back then they were like shoot bumps because nobody knew how to take those things. You know what I mean? Like, but I mean, I feel like he definitely innovated it. I mean, I think that he influenced a lot of Japanese wrestling, because if you look at Japanese wrestling prior to, if you look at it late 70s, because he went there in 80. So like, if you look at it in the late 70s, it was a lot of big man stuff. It was still stiff, but it wasn't as many suplexes and as many holds as it became after Dynamite Kid was there. He had an amazing run in Japan. I mean, like, he's an absolute legend there for sure.
That's what he's known for.
He's Japan. A legend everywhere. But I mean, well, no, I mean, I would argue that the commercial wrestling fan here would know Dynamite Kid as one of the British Bulldogs, if they know him at all. Or they might know some Calgary stuff, which was also really great. I mean, yeah, I mean, dude, Dynamite Kid to me is the first real cruiserweight that made them like viable, not only in their division, but viable as an opponent, period. Dynamite Kid was not someone to be messed around with. And like, I think that he definitely deserves to be standing on some kind of step at number 3. So Dynamite Kid for me.
I'm curious, Wexley, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. He always has been ever since I first started watching wrestling, and that's Sean Waltman, X-Pac.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot.
He was the first like smaller type dude that like I saw that was pretty badass.
Yeah.
You know, he did like, you know, like the more martial arts type stuff. I mean, the match against fucking Razor with the moonsault, like, it's just so memorable, and just everything about him. He was just the first guy, like I said, that I just saw that was like smaller but still did some cool shit.
Yeah,
and he was just bad. I mean, he had badass, and he still had the charisma, because a lot of these cruiserweights that we talk about, like Dynamite Kid, like Dean Malenko, you know, the charisma of a Rock.
Oh yeah.
Sean Waltman, he had the whole package there, and just he's so cool.
Lots of energy, cool terrible promo, but lots of energy.
No, exactly. I'm saying, like, he might be not a good promo, but his charisma is off the fucking charts. And I'll never forget my favorite WWF attitude for N64. I would always pick him. And the beginning of the game, the wrestlers would do this. They would say something to each other, and he'd say, "Your ass is grass, and I'm gonna smoke it." And ever since I was like 8 years old, I've went by that motto.
I love it. Jesse Baker, your silver medal.
Well, I have to change my bronze. Now it's Wex.
Wait, what?
Now it's Wexley. My third favorite cruiserweight now is Wex breaking the losses.
I love it.
My second, AJ Styles.
Okay.
I understand that he broke the mold and went on to become not what we would consider to be a light heavyweight, not what we consider to be a cruiserweight or anything like that. But you want to talk about formative people from the X division, and how that began. Yeah. You have to count AJ.
Oh, yes.
Dude, the spiral tap, the Styles clash, so many innovative like, goddamn.
It's changed the general style of wrestling, in my opinion. He has done a lot of formative things. I'm going to go AJ, silver medal.
All right.
Wow.
Well, damn.
Wow. My silver medal was already Rey Mysterio Jr. I mean, I think that's very clear here. I mean, to me, like, I mean, he was the first real cruiserweight to be a world champion, in my opinion. I mean, he did it before. I mean, I know that
we'll get into that once we get to my number 1. Once we get there, but are we ready for number 2 for me then?
Yeah. What's your number 2?
My number 2, I talked about him last week also, and that's fucking Jushin Thunder Liger. He is he's one of the original cruiserweights. I know Dynamite Kid also, but during the same time period, he was in Mexico, like inventing half the shit that like even Lucha Libre guys do today, like the shooting star press. That's like one of the most classic lucha moves. He invented that. And I talked about it last week. Like he changed his style like once he got older after his brain tumor and started like doing that more Dean Malenko heavy mat based wrestling stuff. And he's done it all. He's the ultimate original innovator. Like, you can't literally ask a single wrestler that doesn't just like love Jushin Thunder Liger.
Yeah.
I mean, I got him tattooed here on my arm. Y'all can see that.
I got him tattooed there on his arm.
I mean, he's just He's amazing. We talked about his gimmick and character last week, but his innovation when it comes to like cruiserweights, super juniors, whatever you want to call it, like he's the guy. And there's no denying that. He's undeniable, and he's just fucking amazing. I don't know how many more great things I can say about the man, but I wish I would have got to meet him when he came to Nashville for that ROH thing, but I didn't get to go. It's when I was also broke and poor like you when you met Jerry Lynn.
Yeah, makes sense. It makes perfect sense. We've all been there. Yeah, the struggle is real. Real. So number one, your number one overall, Jesse. Who is it?
My number one, Sean Waltman.
Oh,
okay. I like that.
Sean Waltman.
I love that.
You don't hear anyone talk about using a wrestler as a litmus test. The amount of times that you hear people talk about using Sean Waltman as a litmus test. Every single person says, if we needed to know whether somebody could go, we use Sean Waltman.
True.
You also look at the gimmick changes. You look at everything that dude did in terms of the innovation as what was considered at the time a small guy. I think that if you put Sean Waltman in the scenario now, I'm not sure you would consider him a small guy. But you're talking about a ton of different moves, a ton of different things, a ton of different personalities. It's been said many, many, many times by Eric Bischoff that he was an important part of lending credibility to the idea of the NWO, just culturally.
Yeah.
Which goes way, way beyond any of the rest of it.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, those 6-ball T-shirts were so popular.
Massive. They were massive. Yeah.
I used to draw them on myself because I couldn't afford them.
Yeah.
Going back to being a broke asshole.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it's just the truth. I'm just saying, Sean Waltman, to me, all of that factor into wrestling. Now, I hate the fact that got used, but that's the only knock I can make on him.
And honestly, I think he was the embodiment of DX for me. Even though Triple H and Shawn Michaels started it, he always had the green and black gear. And when I think of DX, I think of that dude. Like, he had the best suck at entrance too. Boom, boom, boom. And it jumps up to the third one. Dude, it's so cool. Like, so fucking sick.
Yeah.
He made me want. I wore neon green bandanas for years skateboarding because of him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, that's my numero uno.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
Gold medal.
That's awesome. I don't think anybody's going to be mad at that. I think that my gold is actually going to surprise pretty much everybody here. I think that the person that is okay. So to me, and this is I'm going to lay the foundation for why he's my number one, right? So the cruiserweight division kind of became the standard of like wrestling. You know what I mean? You got guys like Seth Rollins, Kenny Omega, like they all wrestled kind of that way now, even on the heavyweight level. Like a main event level is what we would have called X Division or cruiserweight 10 or 20 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. So like I would say the guy that changed the game to make the cruiserweight, like made the cruiserweight division a new cruiserweight division that only guys that kind of size can really do perfectly with the same speed is a Japanese guy. And I'm going to say that Kota Ibushi, to me, is the greatest cruiserweight of all time. I think he is literally the greatest cruiserweight of all time. I think that the charisma that he has on the mic as well is a rock level in Japan. So, like, I mean, I can, like, that dude is, like, I mean, if you are Japanese and don't like wrestling, you know who Kota Ibushi is. Like, he is I mean, I won't say like a John Cena, but a Rey Mysterio. He's a Rey Mysterio for them. I mean, he's the new Tiger Mask. You know, like, I mean, he has so much in that specific division, and he's had opportunities to move up and do other things, and he kind of has, but he always kind of returns back to that junior side. And I think that it's, you know, some people will say, well, he couldn't. I don't think that's what it is. I think that he is so innovative that he just wants to keep creating new things. I mean, the matches that he has with like a doll that are amazing cruiserweight matches with a limp, literal pillow with arms. Like, it's super. I mean, you can say what you want, but that's what cruiserweight is. It's just speed. It's just speed and momentum and action constantly. It's spot after spot, false finish after false finish until the end. That's the way it's supposed to be. I don't think anybody has ever done it better than Kota Ibushi. He's my number one overall.
Number one. Okay. I'm not mad at that, though.
I can't be.
I respect it.
I love it. Wex, where you at? Number one overall, greatest cruiserweight of all time.
My number one, we kind of mentioned some of his counterparts earlier in this countdown, but I think the greatest cruiserweight of all time is Eddie goddamn Guerrero. Even though later in his career he was known for he broke into the heavyweight scene. But this man was 5'7". They bill him as 5'8".
Fair.
But he was goddamn 5'7", maybe barely over 200 pounds. But he was the goddamn man. And like we said, Rey Mysterio, his matches against him in WCW, just hit.
I would say from 01 on, even.
What?
He was a heavyweight. I would say from 01 on. He was, dude, he was at least 220, 225.
He only had a few years after that, then his career was over. So,
but those were his biggest years.
The bulk of his career, he was always a smaller guy. He was definitely a cruiserweight. I know what you're saying. You're going to try to get me, but, dude, his matches against Malenko.
Look, when I frog splashed my own carpet in my dad's apartment in Bellevue, Tennessee, it was because of Eddie Guerrero. So I cannot be mad at you about that.
Pre-WWF, WWE, he was 100% always a cruiserweight. But even in his early days of WWF, it wasn't until after he got fucked up and came in his ROH run and came back, that's kind of when he went into the more heavyweight. But really, what's a heavyweight? Rey Mysterio was a heavyweight. Come on now. AJ Styles.
Okay, then I can say Shawn Michaels.
Shawn
Michaels. All right, I'll change mine to Shawn Michaels then.
I think Shawn Michaels also works for a smaller guy.
See, that's what I
think we all expected that this is going to say Shawn Michaels.
This is why I'm mad. The reason why I'm mad is because Eddie Guerrero 1,000% would have been on my list, but I thought he would have been disqualified because the bulk of his most popular years, he was easily 220, 225, maybe even 230. He was a big dude.
Yes, he's about the same as Pac. Both jacked but short.
Yeah, I guess so.
Pac is even more jacked than Eddie was.
But he's shorter too.
Pac is fucking jacked.
But I don't know. I'm
talking about mullet.
I love Eddie. I'm not
mullet
shitting on the pick.
Is the goddamn man. Until this day, everybody still does his shit.
Unanimous Hall of Famer, incredible worker. I would never argue against anything you're saying about Eddie Guerrero as a wrestler, not one time ever. My only argument is, Chris Jericho. Let's say Chris Jericho. He was a cruiserweight champion. We've talked about this. Just like you said, AJ Styles is not someone we think of as a cruiserweight today, or even someone we're talking about X-Pac. If he was in AEW, he's the same size like Kenny Omega. It's just I'm talking about the history of it. I'm thinking about everything that I know. This isn't as controversial as my Stone Cold pick, obviously, but Eddie Guerrero was at least a fucking cruiserweight champion. Yes, he was. You're right. He was at one time a cruiserweight champion. That's fair.
The coolest things he ever did was that goddamn reversal to the rock bottom.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh my god,
it's so good. I
might bust one just thinking about that, and then all them Rey Mysterio matches. Fuck.
Yeah, but honestly, you hit the nail on the head with that rock reversal because it's dude, that move was so over, and no one had ever reversed it that way.
And that's a fucking cruiserweight move. That reversal. That is a 100% cruiserweight move right there.
Yeah.
So I agree. Good. Later in his career, he wasn't a cruiserweight, but he really wasn't a heavyweight. So agree to disagree on that.
That's fair. You know what? Leave us a comment. Let us know, who do you think is the greatest cruiserweight of all time? I feel like we all had pretty solid picks. X-Pac, Kota Ibushi, Eddie Guerrero,
Amazing Red.
Yeah, Amazing Red, AJ Styles, Jerry Lynn.
Everyone was great.
Yeah, Dynamite Kid.
Yeah. We each throw in one honorable. We don't need to justify it. Just one each.
Sure.
Okay. My honorable is Jamie Noble.
Okay. I like that.
My honorable is Rey Fenix.
Ooh.
For modern day, he is.
My honorable mention is Ricochet, even though that WWE kind of ruined him. But
he's like
pre WWE Ricochet. We all thought he was a Hall of Famer instantly.
Hey,
before he went to WWE, we loved him.
Versus Ricochet, Lucha Underground, and fuck, you'll be mind blown.
Ospreay, he's had a long enough career. You got to throw him in that list too. There's
so many people that are just It's because the cruiserweight style, just like you said, is the modern version of wrestling now because people have got up to speed. It's like, NBA back when Wilt Chamberlain was playing, he's playing a bunch of fucking postmen and plumbers and shit.
Yeah, but dude was
now,
like 7 feet tall, bro. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
exactly. And he's playing a bunch of fucking random, unathletic white dudes, and like, now you're like, same with all sports. Like NFL, when they were wearing leather helmets, they weren't going as fast and hard as they are today. Like, shit innovates. You got to get with the times.
I mean,
I still pick Muggsy Bogues in NBA Jam every single fucking chance.
Exactly. You can't be. We're not looking for a headlock takeover rest hold for 10 minutes anymore, which is cool. It's there for when you need it. But, I mean, when it comes to wrestling, the cruiserweight style, the modern style, that's what I love.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for. I like old school shit every now and then. I like a little Mance Warner eye poke here or there, but I still love some flippity floppers and some whippity wopples,
Some whippity wopples.
That's a shoot right there. Just made that up.
Okay.